Hey guys, and welcome back to my channel. So I'm trying to be Megan Fox from Jennifer's Body, so I'm sorry if this is off-putting to you, but to be honest, it takes me 5 years to put in contacts, so if I put them in, it has to be recorded in some way, shape, or form. Also, fun fact, lenses like this, I cannot see out of this eye, like I can barely see, so if I stutter on my reading, I apologize, but I have only one functioning eye. So today we're going to be talking about Cosmopolitan, as always, the train wreck of the internet. So I was told by one of my subscribers that Cosmopolitan has in fact been caught plagiarizing. Now, if you've watched any of my Cosmopolitan videos, I don't think we're going to be surprised really by anything that Cosmopolitan does, because over and over again we've seen that they lack general ethics, morals, principles, whatever you want to relate to being a decent human being. So when I found out that they were plagiarizing, I was surely disappointed, but not surprised, unfortunately. So the original article was posted on a website called Hello Clue, and it's an article titled Sex Sensation in the Menstrual Cycle. This was published on January 30th, 2017. The way sex feels can change throughout your cycle. Something that felt great on day 14 may be less comfortable on day 26. These changes are real and happen in response to your reproductive hormones. Now, let us go over to the Cosmopolitan article, which is titled How Sex Can Feel Different Throughout Your Menstrual Cycle. This is published on September 15th, 2017, and it says, the way sex feels can change throughout your cycle. Something that felt great on day 14 may be less comfortable on day 26. These changes are real and happen in response to your reproductive hormones. You know that meme that says, hey, can I copy your homework? And the person says, yeah, but make it look different or whatever? This is an example of that resulted in failure. I've mentioned this before and hopefully I don't get annoying with it, but as someone who's in academia, it is extremely frustrating when someone takes your hard work, your research, and downright copies and pastes it onto their own file and give you no credit. Now my question is this: how hard would it have been to quote the person and just say by author XYZ? You can easily use someone's work, just cite them. Let the readers know that you're using someone else's work. That's fine. I would respect Cosmopolitan like this much if they did that. But as usual, they're fans of shortcuts and not doing their own work. If we scroll down in the article, I'm gonna look at the subsection titles. So in the Cosmopolitan article, there's a subsection called cervical position, lubrication, breasts, clitoris, sex drive and arousal, pain for pleasure. All right, let's check the original. Cervical position, lubrication, sex drive and arousal, breasts and beyond, pain for pleasure. Why? Why? Like, I just don't understand how this author, I say author because really, can you call someone an author when they're copying and pasting? I don't think so. Paisley Gilmore literally copied and pasted everything. Let's play devil's advocate. Let's assume the best from Cosmopolitan, which in itself is a chore. Original article mentions feeling okay on day 14 and then not feeling okay on day 26. Those are very specific numbers. So the fact that this author, Paisley Gilmore, came up with the same thing is just implausible. I usually try and give the benefit of the doubt, especially because with my students at school, we're told to give the benefit of the doubt because sometimes people don't know better. But the thing is, if you're a journalist, quote unquote, because I don't really think Cosmopolitan qualifies, but anyway, if you're a journalist, you should know this stuff. You know how to cite. You know why it matters to cite. So I can less easily give a benefit of the doubt, especially when it's so obviously copied. In the introductory paragraph, it says, scientific researchers at Clue explain there are ways your menstrual cycle can affect your sexual pleasure. So they refer back to Clue, but they're not saying that they're copy and pasting directly what comes from Clue. They're not citing it as all of this is directly copy and pasted from Clue. We have made no modification. The thing is, if you say scientific researchers at Clue found X, Y, and Z, the assumption is that they're working off the points given at Clue and are making their own kind of argument about it. Kind of like when I do research to write a paper, I'll say, author so-and-so said this, and then I build off of that. That's the implication here, but they didn't build off it. They ripped it off entirely. So yeah, they can cover their asses and say, oh, we referred to them, but you didn't refer to them saying this is exactly what they said. You're saying they said something about this, and you're implying that you're changing or adding to that argument, which Cosmopolitan does not ever do by definition. So anyway, let's look at the first subcategory, cervical position. Let's just read the first few lines to see whether, again, there is a blatant ripoff. The position of your cervix in your abdomen can influence how you experience certain sex positions, as the cervix is the lowest part of the uterus and the passageway connecting the vagina to the uterine cavity. Now, I'm not going going to count this because this is kind of like a textbook definition, so I wouldn't count that. Let's go on to the next part of this paragraph. On most days, your cervix is likely to be positioned relatively low in your abdomen. As you near ovulation, the cervix may rise. There's little research on this phenomenon, but it's well-documented element of fertility tracking. Let's check in the original. On most days, your cervix is likely to be positioned relatively low in your abdomen. As you near ovulation, the cervix may rise in your abdomen. There is little research on this phenomenon, but it's well-documented element of fertility tracking. I think it's very hard to deny that plagiarism has occurred here. And we've only looked at a tiny bit of the article, but I think it would be redundant to look at every paragraph and be like, oh wow, they're copying, because they already copied enough. Like, copying one sentence and not citing is already counted as plagiarism. So I'm just showing you that the plagiarism here is ample, and they're trying to get around it by this loophole of mentioning, oh, the researchers at Clue found this. But no, they didn't find it, they wrote it, and then you took it and copied and pasted it and said it was yours, like a building off argument, and it's just not the case. Some people won't think that this is plagiarism or that it's not really that big of a deal. So here's another source from the Villanova University, and it says, so they're talking about copyright infringement, which doesn't really matter here, but it says, plagiarism is the act of falsely claiming to be the author of material actually authored by another. That claim may be overt or implied by failing to cite the actual author, and may involve an entire work or a portion of one work incorporated into another work. So as we can see, here, the work is implied because, like I said, they're implying that they're kind of building upon that work or adding to the conversation, when in reality, they're not adding to the conversation, they are ripping off the entire work. As I looked back, another thing that came to my attention is that over here, you can see references that has a link to more, which is usually active, but you can't see that because I'm screen recording. Another thing is that as you scroll down here, they are actually citing their references. Look for references on the Cosmopolitan page. Here they mention Clue. Then if we go all the way down looking for any kind of real references to the studies, there's nothing. So here they reference Clue at the very end. So what is the likelihood that someone's really going to read this? Not high. It's not even a direct link to the article. It's a link to the Clue website generally. Okay, so Clue is a period and ovulation tracker for iPhone and Android. I feel like Cosmopolitan is really relying on the fact that most people won't necessarily know what Hello Clue is or Clue. I've never heard of it, so I wouldn't say that it's the same kind of level of popularity as Cosmopolitan, not because I didn't know it, but just because I've never seen it come up in anything. So that's the sleazy part of all of this. If Cosmopolitan were citing another big publication that's potentially more respectable, I don't know, let's pick the New York Times, for example. If they were mentioning the New York Times, I feel like more people would go check the article from the New York Times versus an article from a less known source. You know what I mean? So I think that the sleazy behavior here is on multiple levels, because not only are they taking from something that is less popular, but because it's less popular, less people will go check on it or click on it, right? It would be different if they had cited, like I said, the New York Times, where more people would be like, oh, I might be interested in reading that. Quick side note, I think that the fact is that popularity will also define accountability. So for example, if they had ripped off a big publication like the New York Times, they'd likely be more scared of being sued than from a smaller website that might not even have the funds to do it. Anyways, guys, I feel like I've gone on for long enough. I need to take these contacts out because my eyes are almost burning. Anyway, let me know what you think about this. Let me know what you think about the plagiarism. Are you really surprised that there was plagiarism? Let me know. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you to my patrons as always, and let's get right into the fan art.